After separation, 4 letters: September, October, January, February. Only in the death of ambition do the deep energies spurt forth from the caverned enchainment. Robert Penn Warren. September. Listening to the slow movement, Andante cantabile, of the Archduke Trio, I went to the bedroom door and looked out, and saw in the dim light above the bed a line of undulations in the lowest panes, along the windowsill at dawn, diffused as of waves, horizontal ripples in warped glass, in the leaves of the oak tree, and on the ground underneath, supporting the mattress and sheets, ruffled and undulant like a hip and shoulder, limbed like the curves of your body, listening, flowing out into the undulations of the hillside and the countryside. And I felt the way you moved there and made love to me, in that subliminal impression of the waves of your body and the waves of my country, continuing together as they withdrew from the window and went on, moving away down the ravine toward White Top and Iron Mountain, and over them where the sun rises and the moon of September. Not only of this one either, as I told you, this country, but the one which you gave to me, our other country, which a poet, an American, called The Lost One. Then, as the melody changed, another connection came, Casals' dark cello under the melody, and the one I drew that night with one hand, with my other still resting on your flank, as a figure for the music in you, drawing on that music with one part of me, and noting it down with the other, confusing in sleep the two, both trials, both impressions, of the white page and your body, my sleep and your sleep, in the country outside, in the margin beyond me, the gulf on the edge of words, and of all I would embrace, past comprehension, even desire, where the lines in the window ripple into the countryside, and the music becomes a sign and a few more notes on the keyboard of what we heard together and found each other in, under the windowsill, in the lost country, drawing the inside out and the outside in. October. How do I tell this? I had to go down that afternoon to Durham for Eva's appointment. I worked all day on the poem from Finisterre, on reading Under the Volcano. At 3 o'clock found the poem to Hugh Lee from 10 years ago. Typed it over. The rider, the grassy bank, the glowing eyes in the light forever. Stumbled down, loaded with manuscripts in the pack, with his poem on top of the pile, and the straps on my heart, heavy, singing. The sun had come out, and it was the sun-drenched, damp, golden October stillness, blood flowing from the sourwoods. I saw Hugh Lee's car at the foot of the hill under the Henegers, so I went up to say hello to him. I entered, and he was sitting in the chair by the door, looking up at me, with the poem still in my head about the glowing eyes. But his eyes were not glowing, particularly the left one. He rested the back of his head against the chair and talked, looking up. No, not looking, facing. Then I remembered his sister Molly's fear, her horse, cancer, that cancer. Seeing it glazed over, the left one, the malignant pupil swallowed up, attacked all over by the milky, vitreous substance alien to it. Something out of all the world which formerly it had looked on was in it now. The central eye, the recess in the citadel of the glowing seer on the bank, on the grassy mountain of the afternoon in my head with you. I remembered a few days before, lying in bed awake, and putting my hands on my face, and feeling for the first time the skull beneath the skin, and seeing the skull, the one that would be there when the skin was gone, with my 10 fingertips pressed tight against the bone and spreading down the hard brow ridges, then halving 5 over each eye, feeling the foreign, vulnerable, softly swollen tubers of the sleepless eyes, knowing they would not be there, that they were alien. To see was alien. To breathe, to feel was alien. To hope was alien. To hold your hand and press your body to me and watch Hugh Lee on the bank and the glowing eyes disappear. The love was alien and would be exiled. The skull alone was native and had no fear. Then I said goodbye to them, but Hugh Lee was anxious about the muffler and the highway patrol. Carburetor dangerous that way. The header snapped off at the manifold, feeding heat under it, so near the spark. Go slow through the towns. They're watching. Glide through 'em. His voice, with its wide, low mountain ambience, intoning the fears for my life and the sundry cautions, mixed in the one democratic breath, the human, capturing them in its net, in the breath of words fraught with goodbyes. When there's only a moment and much to be said, and he just looked up as I stood by him with one foot in the doorway, and said it, mostly with the eyes which wandered over me and could not settle. Then I was off down the hill and on the road, the muffler, I mean the lack of it, roaring between the towns and gliding through them, backfiring and coasting, through Chilhowie, Hillsville, Fancy Gap, under the Parkway. Then I had it made on the level country. There's something I want to remember from that ride. Off the road past Fort Chiswell, I saw a gang of farm boys in a field approach each other in two stocky bands toward the scrimmage line, husky, with flowing hair over the grass. Then they were gone. Or are they still there, I wonder? Will they never reach it? Then farther on toward Hillsville, two boys wrestling in a dooryard, the younger twisting and leaping on his brother's shoulders, and again the wild joy in their aspect. Then a third time at the cider stands in Cana on the Virginia side, where we stopped for gas. Between the pumps and the baskets of apples, a mother and an infant, and a white-bearded man, probably the grandfather, ugly with a scarred face, pitted, moon-like, and a smile that split the cratered face, almost in two, drawing back and stretching the smile, wide like a bow released, as he swooped down, down, and caught him up, screaming with delight. And down the road toward Winston, I wrote, still trying on an old poem I'm still unhappy with, to paint the road, to cover the road with this nakedness, to paint the cabin with its 1,000 colors. Then turning onto I-40, in the shadow of the overpass, I scribbled, enchanted afternoon. Then past Greensboro. I'm with them all now, have been there, I'm going there, poised on the fulcrum, 40 years. I can feel the grandfather in my backache and the child in my eyes looking up at him as he approaches with wonder and delight. Then, as night fell toward Durham, they were none of them inside, protected, safe. They were all in the light. The light was crying for them, waiting, waiting for them. The light suspended. It will always be waiting. It is we who are passing, waiting to speak to us, to say it is waiting, waiting to speak through us. It may wait forever. It may wait for nothing. In the light, forever. A footnote for Hugh Lee Breedlove. Perhaps toward the evening as with darkness, we leave the day on the bank, and the horse and rider, and grassy mountain. Perhaps it is not passing, and we are passing, the afternoon and the grass, and the glowing eyes in the light forever. Perhaps we have lost the direction, and we are these roads that lead nowhere, and only in us it darkens. January. The roads have been covered all month. The jet plane comes over every morning, and the snow every evening, and the roads ice over and thaw, and your absence comes over and sticks and stays with me. There is nowhere to go. But what happens is that they come, the unknown ones from the hills who feel the gaps, and steal into my thoughts and take your place and learn to live. They're the ones who go when there is nowhere. It's they who look out into the snow and bear the night and bear the ice from the spring and the dreams from the hunger. Their shoulders bow toward the fire in the room, above the windfall, beneath the mountain. From the strong hills toward where I would lift my eyes and take what they see and drink and bear what they are away. They are here, then they are gone. February. Last night I dreamed of you again, of waiting for you, looking for you. You were elsewhere, yet you'd promised you'd come to the meeting. We were on the way to the chapel. A crowd passed on the sidewalk. I looked for you on the sidewalk, in the corridors of divinity. A professor and poet was speaking. It was an evening service. I was uneasy because you were late, and you'd said we shouldn't meet. I looked into the chapel, saw you weren't there, started to leave, then entered one of the pews, sat down and noticed beside me a woman sitting with a hooded infant propped against the back of the pew between us. The woman leaned forward toward the hymnals, looked around at me in a friendly way, and lifted the bonnet from the child's face. She wanted me to speak with the child, since it didn't often see people outside the family, and since there was something unusual about it, which kept it from a normal life. The infant had two foreheads, one built upon the other, and two sets of eyes, two separate centers, which looked at me and reflected, but one lower face and body. I saw the two sets of eyes, the two thoughts of me, under the hood, looking back at me, and the mouth moving without words, chewing spittle, the tongue licking its lips, and felt myself looking back at them, repressing horror. I began to speak in a normal voice, to calm myself and hold its attention, or theirs. I began to speak with the child as the woman wished, in the waiting sanctuary, in the absence of the service, waiting for you. Later we spoke again in the vestibule, with the child perched inside, staring over the sill at me without. As the congregation brushed past, I continued our conversation, though the eyes were unbearable, waiting for you. Protect me, you savage spirits. Let me bear your eyes, to lay them down at your feet, with mine on the secret altars where we burn to see, with my poems and her dreams, and with what is left of my life here on this worn mountain, banked beneath the embers in the evening sky.